Hello, 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 friends. How are we? Hello, Rascal. I hope everyone had a good day today. We're trying something new here tonight. We're going live a little bit earlier than normal um, for a variety of reasons. It seems to be the earlier I can do these things, it seems to be easier for our folks who are overseas, maybe in another time zone, in another country. Um, also, I it's really not good in the long term for me to be staying up until midnight in the middle of the work week. So trying to make it a little easier on myself as well. So I hope this earlier time isn't too much of an inconvenience for folks. Hello, Chemo. How are you? Hi, Giles. Hey, Libeo Bob. Nice to see you. How's my mic volume? Is it okay? Too soft? Too loud? Oh, I need to get my captions going too. What up, devs? Hey, hi. Sound good? Okay, awesome. Hey, Tumsies, welcome. Hi, Trisha. How are you? I'm getting my captions going here. Just one second. Always forget to enable those. And we should be okay. We should have captions now for anyone that wants them. Anyone that doesn't want them can feel free to disable. Um, hey, BPC, welcome, welcome. Just out of curiosity, BPC, was this a better time for you to join? Is that why you were able to join for the first time, or just you hadn't seen the stream live before? I'm just experimenting with this new time. As I was saying a little before, it's easier for me. My streams, not gonna lie, my streams tend to go pretty long, right? And so, streaming until midnight in the middle of the work week isn't the best, idea for me. So, we're trying an hour earlier, and at the very least, if my stream does go for 4 hours, then I'll be done by 11. Oh, good. Okay, earlier is better. Awesome. Yeah, Jenna, and I'll have the camera back on once we officially get started here. Great, great, great. Okay, I need to mute for just 1 second and go shut a door, but I will be right back. Okay, and we're back. We got about a minute to go here. Sure, folks are still trickling in. I like to do this countdown at the start so people can get their ads out of the way, their pre-roll. You like the earlier time? Oh, good deal. Okay, awesome. So glad this works for folks. Great, great, great. Yeah, like I say, it actually works pretty well for me too. I'm sure not everybody's going to catch on right away, but we'll get there eventually. Hey, Mel, welcome. Good to have you. All righty, welcome, welcome everyone. Let's go ahead and get started. I don't know about you, but I'm actually pretty excited for class to have resumed. Hello. It's midnight in Nigeria. My goodness. Well, as you can see from the blinding sun coming in, it's about mid evening around 7 p.m. here where I live. So that sun should go away after a while. But hey, Beville, welcome. Hey, Dakota. Okay, so I don't know about you, but I'm pretty happy that class has started back up again. I'm excited to get back into it. And I really appreciated the homework that Leon assigned. The golden hour, yes. Hola, welcome, Cabrandi. Hey, Ciara. Um, but yeah, I really appreciated the homework that Leon assigned. He assigned some homework he assigned a YouTube video, which I haven't watched yet. He also assigned some homework from the JSWay, which we've been studying for, a chapter here and there throughout the course. And then he also assigned some eloquent JavaScript homework. So we're definitely going to start with the JSWay on this stream. I think the JSWay is a much more accessible manuscript overall. Personally, I really like the JSWay. I like the way it explains things. I like the examples, and I like the homework problems. Eloquent JavaScript, yeah, yeah. I skimmed that one. Haven't done it yet. Um, but I think we are probably going to try to tackle that on Sunday. No guarantees, but I hope to, have a decent grasp on the problems by Sunday, and maybe we can go over it then. But for tonight, I really wanted to focus on something accessible as we all kind of get back in the swing of things. If you weren't a total weirdo like me and did all the 8Q code wars over the break, then you might have been, you might be a little rusty. You might be still, picking things back up again. So I wanted to start out with, with just reminding ourselves of objects, reminding ourselves of classes, what they're good for, how we can apply them. So the were squirrels, yeah, right. Hey, Yoni, welcome. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so let's get into it. So specifically, if you're not sure what I'm referencing here, we are taking a look at the JSWay, and I'm grabbing the link for you. I'm going to drop it in chat if you're not quite sure, where to look. Objects, what is it good for? Yeah. Yep. All right. So I just dropped the link in chat for you. So if you don't, and if also too, if you are part of the 100 Devs cohort, you can go to the Follow Along Materials channel on the Discord, and you can grab the homework from there as well. But here, for your convenience, I've dropped it in chat. And what we're doing is we're doing the homework problems that are located at the end of that chapter. There's 3 problems. Dogs, character inventory, and account list. And we're actually going to start with problem 2 because I think it's a really great segue from the actual chapter reading. And we're actually going to do a little bit more than what was asked of us in the actual question, because I want to kind of go over the construction of a fairly large object. And we're going to just kind of code along with the object that's in the homework. So just to orient folks, we are not going to start with the problem called dogs. We're going to start with the problem called character inventory, and I'm pulling that up on the screen here just so you can see it. So we're going to start with this problem right here. So the one called character inventory. Okay, cool. So I'm going to pull this back over on my screen so I can do 6 things at once here. Okay, and so this problem reads, improve the example RPG to add character inventory management according to the following rules. And then it gives some rules. But first we're gonna take a look at that example RPG and kind of talk about how to build it, how they built it in the chapter, and then we'll go on to the actual additions to the RPG itself. Oh, posture check. Oh, thanks. Yeah, now that I have a webcam, y'all can see me slouching. Oh boy. I'm notorious for that. There we go. Okay, shoulders back. All right, I got it. Thank you. Okay, so in the RPG text itself, they build a pretty cool sort of RPG object. And what I've done here is I've actually sort of just taken the template for building an object and I've pasted it here in the window. And hang on, I'm just arranging my windows here on my other screen so I can see everything. 2 seconds. I need to be able to see the chat and my notes at the same time. And my other screen is just a tiny little laptop screen, so it always takes some finagling. Okay, so this is the basic outline of an object, and then how we can later call that object and how we can make references. So first, later, how we can create a new object using the constructor in that class, and then later how we can also call methods on the new object we've just created. Um, Oh, thank you, Maddie Baum. Yeah, no, I do look at a screen pretty much all day, but I mean, I would be looking at a video game screen probably if I wasn't doing this. So either way, it's screens all the way down. My eyeballs have become accustomed to it at this point, for better or for worse, I think. Okay, so here, this is what's called a class. And previously, we've been acquainted with just regular objects, right? Where we just sort of say like, an object, and then we would define a few different properties in it. But a class is just a different way to sort of encapsulate sort of a singular set of ideas and close them all sort of together. And it's a concept that's fairly new to JavaScript, although it does exist in several other languages. It's sort of added to JavaScript as some of that syntactical sugar to help make it easier for folks to come from other languages. Although not having previously used classes, SQL really doesn't do that in that way. I do find it nice to sort of bundle things together that are related, and to kind of have your constructor and your methods all nicely grouped together. Oh, your optometrist said to make sure to look away from your computer screen for 30 seconds every 30 minutes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Now, that's probably good advice. I can't say that I always follow it, but you should listen to your optometrist. Uh, yeah, and so yeah, classes are cool. I like them. Not everybody does, but hey, whether you use them or not is up to you. It's your code. But we should at least know what they are and how to build them. So inside of a class, we can sort of declare a class by saying class, and then we give it a name, and that name is capitalized. And inside that class, we can then have a constructor that's going to help us build an object. And so we literally label it as constructor. And into that constructor, we can pass multiple parameters, which are then assigned to the various properties of the object that we're creating. So, and we declare those properties by using the this keyword. And if you're not familiar with that, the this keyword just helps us kind of refer back to the parent object of whatever object we're in. And that could be a variety of things. So if I were to just say console log this, and this is, I'm outside of the object now. I'm just doing it straight in the window. Let's see if this might error out if I try to run it, but we'll see. Yeah, I didn't like that. That's all right. Here, let me just comment this out really quickly. So if I just say console log this, just in my empty JavaScript window, you can see I just get an empty object because there's no parent to refer back to. But when we're inside of our class, we can use the this keyword to refer to the parent in that way. The parent is like in this case, the parent is more of just like the global this, I believe. Okay, so I'm going to uncomment this back so we can keep going through it. And so after we've declared all the properties that we want in our new object that we're going to build, we can also declare some methods. And these are essentially functions that can be applied to make modifications to our object, or manipulate the properties of our object. And oh boy, Dakota. Okay, this is a challenge. How long does the ban last? Is it 5 minutes? 5 minutes, I think. I don't remember what I set it for. Hang on. I'm looking. 5 minutes. Okay. All right. It's a challenge, but okay. Ban starts now, 7:10. So 7:15, ban will end. Okay. All right. So methods are functions that can be applied to the object that we are creating, and they exist within our class. And we can have multiple methods within our class, and we can pass in parameters just like we would with a regular function. I'm sorry, my speech is going to be somewhat stilted for 5 more minutes because I have to think about literally everything that I say. Oh, sorry. I tried my best. Ah. Oh, robot mode engaged. Yes. I'm going to keep trying though. I have 4 more minutes. You can keep a tally to see how many times I say it. No, not doing that. Not adding 5 minutes. That would make it too hard. But keep a tally. Okay, so we have a constructor, we have multiple methods, and those kind of encapsulate our class. So outside, once we're done with creating our class, how do we then create a new object? So down here, outside of after our class, we can declare a new object. And we do that by assigning it to a variable. So after our variable here, we say new, and then the name of our oh, name of our class, and the various arguments. This is hard. Various arguments that we then pass into our constructor. So after we instantiate a new object, how do we call methods on that object? So this can be a little bit hard to get the first time. So we instantiate our object, right? And we assign it to this variable called my object. After we instantiate our new object, we no longer refer to the name of our class. So in this case, we would say, instead of saying my class dot method, once per minute ain't bad, right? 2 more minutes. Oh my gosh. Hey, it's their channel points. They can spend it how they want. So we no longer refer to our class. Instead, we now reference our variable name to call our method within there. So in this case, we wouldn't say my class dot method. We would say my object dot method. Okay. Yeah, like conceptually, I know like how to substitute words instead of saying that word, but in the flow of natural speech, just said it again. In natural speech flow, it's very hard to do. Okay, 5 more seconds. Hey, all right, 7:15. I can say the all I want now. Cool. That was hard, man. Yeah, all right, so 6 flubs. The last one when I was complaining about it. Nice. Okay, not bad. Hey, not bad, I'm going to say. Not bad. Yeah. All right, so essentially what I was trying to say there is that yeah, so when we can, after we create our new class, we assign it to a variable, and when we call the methods on that object we've created, we need to make sure that we're referencing the variable rather than the class name. I know that tripped me up several times. We'll demonstrate that here in a second. Okay, so that's the basic skeleton layout of a class. Now let's go ahead and build the example. Let's go ahead and build the example class, and then start manipulating it from the homework assignment. Okay, let me pull it up. Okay, so in the text itself, they actually are building an RPG, which I think is really cool. And so they are building a class that's going to help us generate characters for the RPG. So essentially, they have a class called character, and remember, it's capitalized. Class names are going to be capitalized, and in that, then they have a constructor. Whoops, I didn't mean to click on that. In that, they have a constructor into which they're passing various parameters for the character. So their parameters that they're using are name, health, and strength. And so these are going to be passed in when they build their new object down here. So if I was creating a new character, I would say new character, and then I would pass in name, health, and strength. And those would be specific values. So I would say, like, I don't know, Bert, health of 100 and strength of 50. I'm just making up items there. Can you extend a class in JS like in Java? Yes, you can. We haven't really gotten there yet. I believe there's something about that in Eloquent JavaScript, so we'll probably touch on that more on Sunday. But yeah, you can definitely extend classes in JavaScript. Yep. Yeah, and I think there's too, if you're doing Code Wars, there's several 8Qs that have to do with that. So if you want to practice that a little bit, you can always, I'm sure, search that up in Code Wars. I remember there was one about dogs where you had to do an extender for like certain breeds and that kind of thing on a dog class. It was kind of neat. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, they're building a character. They're passing in some basic stats for the character. And so they want to then assign those stats that are being passed in to certain properties for the character, so that then the methods can reference those properties later, and they can kind of stay with the character object that we're creating. So in the basic one that they've built, they have a property called this.name. And then they're also assigning that, so whatever name gets passed in will be assigned to that property. Okay, and then the next one is called this.health, and the health, whatever health value gets passed in will be assigned to that. And then the third one, obviously, this.strength, and that gets assigned to strength. So once we've created our object, let's say, if we create Bert, our strong and valiant Bert, if we reference that object later, it'll be like Bert.strength, right? So instead of this.strength, it would become Bert.strength. And then the last thing that they created was another property that wasn't passed in. It was just declared down here, and it's called this.xp. And that was just set to 0 because that value will be modified as the character either earns XP or maybe gets killed and loses XP. That value can change later. And so after outlining the initial properties, they started in on some methods. And so the first method is called attack, pretty standard RPG, RPG sort of thing that characters can do. Oh, Code Wars retweeted you. What? That's so cool. Wow, that's amazing. Good job. Dakota, was that a question for me? How many 8Qs did I get through last week? Let's see. I need to look for. It was a couple hundred. It was a lot. Yeah, don't do that. Don't be like me. I was pretty obsessed there for a hot minute. Yeah, it was. I think it was maybe like 100 and maybe it was like 190 or something. Yeah, it was. Let me say, like the last 30 or so like took longer than maybe like the first 100 that I did, just because you get down to the ones that are super old or super obscure or super weird or not written well and have like tons of bad reviews, and so I'm like scouring the discussion boards trying to figure out what it's even asking. So yeah, those last few were kind of, those were hard. So I'm Oh, hey, don't feel bad. Like, look, I chose to spend my time that way. Like there's way better ways to spend your time. This was just me being like, can I actually do this? And you don't have to. I would highly recommend not, actually, just because like I say, some of the ones at the very bottom of the pile are not good. Um am I gonna do all the 7Qs next? Well, I'm gonna see how it goes. I've already done a few. I did a 4Q yesterday. I was pretty proud of that. Um, but I don't know. I might just skip around from here on. We'll see. Okay, so let's keep going. So first thing is going to be our attack method, and so we're going to pass in, essentially, we're going to pass in. Oh, hydrate. Thank you. Yep, I got my giant mug here. So we're going to pass in a target for our character to attack, right? So pretty standard stuff. And then we're going to do a series of checks to basically see, should the character is the character able to attack? Are they alive? Are they dead? Um, and then also how that attack should, benefit, how much damage that attack should do, and then how it should potentially benefit the character as well. So first, we need to check and see, is our character able to attack? So if I wanted to see whether the current character that I've, um, whether the if I want to see whether the current character is able to attack or not, how would I do that? How might I do that? What kind of check might I do here in my if statement to see if my current character, my current object, is able to attack? Yeah, yeah. So we're going to reference health, right? But specifically, we need to reference this dot health. Yeah, we need to see if the current value assigned to our health property is greater than 0. Okay, and we can't just use the health value that's passed in, because at some point it could have been modified, right? Let's say this is like the third attack that this character has done, and so this initial value that was no longer that was passed in, that may no longer be valid. It may have been modified multiple times and then reassigned to the health property here. So we need to make sure that we're referencing this dot health to make sure we get. I keep clicking that, to make sure we get the most up to date value. Yep. All right. So that's our first check. And so, all right, assuming our character is good to attack, then we can essentially say, all right, how much damage are they able to do? So we're going to assign a variable called damage. This is going to be directed outward toward the target. And so we're going to reference the strength of our character to determine that. So the character might have lost strength, maybe in a previous attack if they've been wounded or something like that. So we always want to make sure we're grabbing, the current strength value that exists on the object. And then we're going to console log, just to kind of alert the player. Console log. We're going to alert the player as to, basically the hero's current readiness, and let the user know that, yes, your hero is attacking the target. So I'm just going to copy this. gives the user a status update. So there. This is directly from the text. So if you're following along, you can just look at the chapter and see what this message should be. Go full link. Hi-ya! Yeah, right. Oops, that's the wrong one. I'm sorry. I go ahead and I just copy the wrong message, don't I? Cripes and a cracker. All right, hang on. I grabbed the wrong one. Let me get the right message. So we're telling the user the right thing. Okay, there we go. So now we're saying, all right, this dot name of the hero, attacks target, and causes damage. And here we don't have to say this dot damage, right? Because we've assigned damage. We've assigned the strength value to a damage variable. So we can just reference the damage variable. We don't need to see this dot damage. Okay, so that's our attack. And then now we check and see, okay, what did that do to the target? So I'm going to make sure I'm outside my console log here. Now, if I wanted to reference the health of my target, if I wanted to see the health of my target, how might I do that? Assuming that target is also an object that was created using the same constructor. So that's just a previously created object that we are passing in to this method. How can I see my target's health? Yeah. Yeah, database. Yeah, it would be target.health, right? Because we passed in target, which is also an object built by the same constructor, so it should have the same properties, right? Yes, since it's an object being passed as an argument. Exactly. Yep. Yep. And we're just assuming here that it's been created by the same constructor and should have the same properties because it's just another RPG character. Yeah. All right. So in this case, we're going to say target.health minus equal damage. So we're passing that damage to the target, and then we're reassigning it to the target to that target's health. Right. We're ticking down their health and making sure that's being captured. Yeah. Okay. So we've done that. Now, but we need to make sure that, we are also now checking the status of our target to see, okay, what did that do? Did it eliminate the target? Is the target still viable? Could the target, still be alive to attack us? What's going to happen there? So now we're going to check and see if target dot health is greater than 0. Now if it is, then we just want to inform the user that, hey, some damage was done, but you're probably going to need to attack again. So we're going to say, just tell them essentially how many health points the target has left. Drop that message in there. Target name has target health points left. Else, we assume that the target health is potentially below 0. So, let's say if the target was on 1 HP and we did 10 damage, then it could be at -9. But that's not what we want to show, right? Because in an RPG, you eliminate a target and their health just ticks down to 0. It doesn't go, negative. At least in most RPGs. So in this case, then, if no matter what value it is, if it's negative or whatever, we're just going to reassign it and we're going to set it back to 0. So target.health equals 0. And also, we're going to want to give the character that eliminated the target, we're going to want to give them a little bit of bonus XP. Const. Oh, hey, Adaran, welcome. Yeah, actually, so this is actually part of the homework. So if you haven't looked at it yet, the JSWay Chapter 9 homework actually involves a pretty fun little exercise building a little text-based RPG. Are you so yeah, check it out. Here, I'll grab the link for you. And I'll drop it in chat here. Hey, C Films, welcome. Hi. Carmen, yeah. So we set it back to 0, and that's, you don't necessarily have to do that, but if you think about a video game, right? When you eliminate an enemy that has a health bar, generally, I mean, the health bar like goes down, 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 and then let's say it's on like one health point left, and you do an attack that does 100 damage. That health bar doesn't suddenly go 99 points negative, right? It goes down to 0, and the character disappears. And so in this case, we just want to say no matter how much damage was done on that last round, we're setting the health to 0, and the target is eliminated. Pikatron, hi. I'm doing good, C films. Unless there's a second phase, right? Oh, dun dun dun. Yeah, no, this isn't Elden Ring. This isn't Dark Souls. We're doing classic text-based RPG mechanics here. Yeah. The problem with putting my ponytail on the side like this means that it tries to get directly into my tea, which is just, the largest problem in the world. Okay, so we've essentially limited the target, but we need to make sure that we're informing the user that we've done so. So in this case, again, we log to the console, and we essentially say, this done. Oh, that's weird. I'm going to format it that way. So our character eliminated the target, and they won a certain amount of bonus XP. And that's, sorry, foreshadowing. There. And some experience points. Yeah. And also, too, I need to make sure that I don't get too far ahead here. So I'm going to just go back to the text and reference it instead of my notes, because my notes have the completed problems in them. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here. All right. So wins some amount of experience points. So also too, we've declared our bonus XP here, right? We've set bonus XP to 10, but we haven't assigned it. So this is just a variable that we've declared saying, hey, somebody's going to get some bonus XP. Yeah, and we're practicing classes tonight, Adoron. Yeah. We are practicing classes tonight, which are fun, especially in this context, because with an RPG, you're going to have a lot of very similar characters with slightly different stats, and so using a constructor inside of a class with some set methods is a pretty good way to solve that issue. So, in order to give that XP to our character, can somebody tell me how we would do that? How would we give that XP to the character? That 10, so we created a variable here called bonus XP. How would we assign that to our character? Yay, yeah. Yeah, Planoptic coming in hot on that first chat. I like it. Yeah, y'all are right. Yep. So we're going to do this dot XP because we're referencing our character. And we're going to do a plus equals because if there's already XP there, we don't want to overwrite it, correct? So we set that equal to bonus XP. And there we go. So that closes our loop of essentially doing damage to our target or creature or other character or whatever it was. Just checking there. Yeah. So that essentially closes the first half of our if statement here. So as long as our character is healthy enough, has some health and is able to attack, then they could potentially do damage and eliminate the target or not. However, if they are not healthy enough to attack, then we also want to inform we want to inform the player that they're not able to. So essentially, if instead of attacking at all, we're just going to pass them a message saying, hey, character can't attack, they've been eliminated. How do objects compare and contrast to arrays? Well, objects can be a lot more flexible. And arrays can hold objects, and I feel like arrays are more of like good storage for lots and lots of related items versus you know like a series, like a sequence or a list of just a bunch of maybe sequential, maybe not, um, but generally sequential items. Whereas objects can be a little bit more like in this case, we're specifically referring to classes, where classes can be a lot more flexible in like we can have a constructor that can build additional objects, and then we can have functions inside of our class which are called methods, and those methods can influence the object that we've created. So I mean arrays and classes are both objects, but I feel like arrays are more like storage versus classes can be more dynamic. That's probably not a very good explanation, but that's just the way I think of it, at least at this point. Um, okay, so yeah, arrays are more like sequential data. Exactly. Yeah. I feel like I see arrays as more of like a storage shelf. Like I know Leon calls them toasters. I have a hard time with the toaster analogy. Um, yeah, and I'm sure that works for some folks. And I see arrays more like those. If you went to primary school or elementary school, you might have had like a little cubby where you put your coat and your shoes. Um, when you come in from outside, you have a little cubby where you hang up your backpack and your lunchbox. Um, and I see them as those little cubbies. You kind of put stuff in there, and you have a spot that belongs to you, and then you can go to a certain spot and pull those items out. So I see it just as a kind of arrays are kind of just a place to put stuff. Um, yeah, whereas objects can do much more. Um, okay, so we finished our attack sequence, um, which is pretty long, right? Like this was if you look, it starts in here and ends here. Like that's a pretty long method, right? But it does a lot of stuff. It has to consider a lot of things. And you could probably divide this into maybe two methods, potentially for like, I don't know, successful attack or something like that. But I think it's okay as one. It's performing a single action, determining whether or not to attack, and then launching the attack and assigning the result. Um, oh yeah, and yeah, thank you for that explanation there, Olafimihin. I'm sorry, I mispronounced that. I'm sure. Um, Objects represent things with characteristics or properties, while arrays create and store lists of data in a single variable. Yeah. Um, So the last thing that we want to do is we also want a way for the user to essentially get the current status of their character. So after an attack sequence is finished, then we want to just display the character's current stats to see, did they take damage? How are the other characters doing in the party? And then how are the enemy characters doing as well? And so we're going to have a describe. We're going to have a describe method that's going to be able to do all of that. Describe. And that's going to essentially say, it's going to just do a quick list of stats. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. All right. So, and you'll notice that, that is that we're using a return there. Um, and in that case, I mean, you could have this do like a console log, whatever, but you can also use return and then just console log whatever you pass into it. So we'll see that in a second. Um, all right, so I think we're finished with our class at this moment. I should have my brackets are right. Thank you all for telling me to turn on the, hydrate, thank you. Thank you all for telling me to turn on the bracket colors. That does help. I'm still getting used to all the different colors, but I might have to tweak that a little bit. But it is nice to have. And I also think I got the permanent word wrap turned on as well. Yeah. Okay, so now how do we use this class that we've just created? So let's make a couple characters. So we're going to const a new character called Aurora. And this character, um, I'm assigning a variable called Aurora, but then I still need to pass in essentially the parameters to my class. So in that case, I'm going to say new character, because my class is called character. And then I have 3 parameters that I need to pass in, and VS Code is helpfully reminding me of what those parameters are. We need to pass in a name, we need to pass in some health, and we need to pass in some strength. So we're going to pass in a name of Aurora. They're going to have a health of 150, and they're going to have a strength of 25. Okay. And then we can also create a second character called Glacius, which I think is a really cool name. Glacius. Yeah. And again, same format, but we can pass in different stats if we want here. Obviously, it's going to have a different name, Glacius. I think I spelled that right. They're going to have a starting health of 130, and then they're going to have a little bit higher strength at 30. And that's going to influence then how our methods behave, right? And then we're gonna, console log a little bit of flavor text for the start of our little video game here. Oh, you missed that. What add-on is that for the bracket colors? That was, I think it was, if you go to file, was it appearance? I think view, edit. Let's see, where is it at? Preferences. I believe preferences. Nope, that's not it either. Appearance. I think it was here. Maybe. I don't remember. Somebody remembers. If you could help them out. I didn't know it wasn't. I didn't need to enable any extensions. It was just there. Is it I thought it was in preferences. Setting. Oh yeah, it's in preferences, I believe. Settings, and then I just typed in brackets, I think. Yeah. Okay. So go to File, Preferences, Settings, and then up in the search bar, just type bracket, and you can see that there'll be a little thing here called Editor Bracket Pair Colorization. Yeah, and you don't even need the extension. It's built in. Yeah. So just do that, and then you'll have it, and just click the checkbox, and you got it. Okay. So we've created a couple characters. Then we're going to console log a couple. We're just going to console log a quick welcome message to the user so that it pops right up for them. So boop, there we go. Oh yeah, it used to be an extension. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I think I feel like VS Code is keeps glomming extensions and incorporating them into the actual performance of the tool. Hey, Chanpo, welcome. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to describe the initial characteristics of our heroes that we've just created. We're going to describe them to the user to demonstrate what characters they have available to them and their stats. So now I've created my 2 new characters, right? So how then do I call a method for Aurora? How do I call one of those methods that we set up in our class? So I want to call the describe method. So we created this method that describes the hero. So how would I do that? I want to call describe on the new Aurora character that I created. Would I do this? Ah, yeah, you guys got it. Yep. Because I want to target Aurora. Aurora, man, I can't spell. Aurora, and I want to get the stats that were assigned specifically to that character. Yeah. Aurora describe. Yeah. And I want to get the stats that were assigned specifically to that character. And I can do the same thing for our second character, Glacius. And since I assigned that new character to this Aurora variable, I use aurora.describe. Glacius and glacius.describe. Okay. So let's test this and make sure I did it right. we'll do these. So we should get a console log. We should get a description of Aurora stats and a description of Glacius stats, assuming that I didn't screw anything up. Well, we'll see. All right, so I'm going to save this. And then I have an extension here in VS Code called Code Runner. And it helps me sort of like CodePen. It helps you run code directly in VS Code, console. It gives you a console directly in VS Code. So we're going to do that. Escarta. Thank you. Yeah. Pidge from Voltron is my avatar and my spirit animal, basically. All right, let's see if I did it. Okay, check it out. All right, so welcome to the adventure. Here are our heroes. Aurora has 150 health points, 25 as strength, and 0 XP points. Perfect. Glacius has 130 health points, 30 as strength, and 0 XP. Yeah, so that's exactly what we wanted, right? We wanted to create 2 new characters and then see their stats. Yeah, and I mean, I figured we're going to need Node eventually, right? So I might as well install it and then, have this nice feature of the console. So I don't have to keep switching back and forth between a browser window when I'm just doing just plain JS stuff like this that doesn't require the DOM. Might as well just have it run in VS Code. So yeah, that was I did that earlier today. So at some point I'm going to forget to save and I'm going to wonder why my code isn't working over here in the console. So y'all better call me out because I've done it like 16 times already. Okay, so Mewtwo, what's up? What? I saw you were online earlier. I wish I could have tuned in. It's rad. Hey, hi. Welcome, welcome. What are you guys working on today? Hope you're having fun. Hey, Mewtwo. Oh, hi. We are here in our stream today. We are learning how to use some classes to essentially build the characters for an RPG and have them perform some very simple actions. So things like attacking and mostly attacking, but we're learning how these characters can interact with each other and how to build multiple characters using some classes. Yeah, welcome Raiders. Hey, all right, I'm gonna take a hydrate. Somebody claimed hydrate. Hi everyone. If you don't know me, I am Mayan Wolf. I'm part of the 100 Devs cohort, and learning JavaScript, learning HTML, learning CSS, and also I am also part of the 100 Devs stream team. So there's only 2 of us right now, me and Hello It's Rufio, which you should always go check them out as well. They're here on Twitch, and Potatru, not Mewtwo today. Yeah. Well, welcome. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Mewtwo. Yeah. All right. And Amir, I do have a YouTube. You need to give me a second though to get it. I have a YouTube where I do upload my videos. I'm not super current with that right now, but I'll be getting better as I go. Hey, do you have any tips for starting code completely from scratch? Red haired. So by that, I assume do you mean getting into coding for the first time? Starting to learn. Okay, I see. Well, here's what I would recommend. Look up Learn with Leon. Look up their videos on YouTube. You can definitely catch up from the very start of our cohort here. And you're welcome to join us on our coding journey because a lot of the folks in this cohort, in this course, 100 Devs course, started from scratch, knowing nothing about JavaScript, knowing nothing about HTML or CSS. I know I did. And now look, we're doing RPGs up in here. So yeah, look up Learn with Leon on YouTube, and you can absolutely start from zero and go all the way to as far as you want essentially. Yeah. All right, I'm getting my YouTube channel. 1 second. And I'm gonna go to my channel. So yeah, if you want to catch some of my last videos, like I say, I'm only caught up through like March 30th on there, but you can catch all of my previous Twitch streams here on my Twitch channel on my homepage. I've got them all up there as VODs, so they're all yours. Feel free to watch them. Hey, Florence, welcome. Good to see you. All right, that's my YouTube channel. Like I say, it really just has like my past Twitch VODs on it through March 30th. So yeah, thank you for the follows. Thank you for the raid. Much appreciated. Okay, so far, let's just show what we've done so far. So we have a class. We've declared essentially a class that can create an RPG character. It has some basic stats that are in a constructor. Um, and those stats then are assigned to the object, to the character that's being created. And then we have a few methods. So we have a couple methods, basically just an attack method that will attack a prescribed target, determine how much damage has been done, damage the target, so reduce their damage ability. And and then also, basically check and see if the character is able to attack the target, see how much damage has been done, see if the target has been eliminated, and then maybe give, if the target has been eliminated, then assign some bonus XP to the character that attacked. So basically just controlling the interaction between the character and the target, and then determining the outcome. And then our second thing that we have in our class here is we have a describe method, which describes essentially the current stats of the character. So if you think back to those old text-based RPGs, if you're old enough, back in the 80s and 90s, you'd have these text-based RPGs that didn't have any visual component. And so you had to, essentially ask for the character's current stats to make sure that you knew them, right? And so that's essentially all we're doing there. So we just, basically what we did is we wrote this out and then we tested to see, hey, are we able to build our new character successfully by passing in those basic stats? So we built a couple of characters and then we're console logging their current status. You weren't even a thought yet in the 80s. Yeah, neither was I, actually. I was born in 1990. Yeah. So, but I didn't, I didn't have a lot of new technology for a while. So I was playing a few years behind the times, let's say, on video games and that kind of thing. Yeah. Okay, so we'll keep going. So we know that our describe method works. It gives us back the right thing. Oh, thank you for the subscription, Monarch. Yeah. Yep, I'll keep updating that YouTube. Probably this weekend, I'm going to get caught up through April. I'm going to load all of my Twitch videos, all of my Twitch VODs to YouTube here in a couple days. So this should all be up on the channel. It just takes a while, so I need a fair amount of time to do that. All right, so we've created our heroes. Now let's create a villain for them to fight, right? So we're going to create a monster, and so that's going to be called. We're just going to create a new variable called monster. And we're going to create a new character. So like we did before, we're going to create a character, and that's going to essentially instantiate this new object, this new monster. And we're going to call him Spike, uppercase. And we're going to give them some basic stats for starters, and we can look in here and we can see that we need to pass in a name, we need to pass in some health, and we need to pass in some strength. So Spike is going to be maybe a lower level monster with some lower health and lower strength, because we're still early in our RPG, right? We're still early in the game. So this is just what we're passing in for Spike, is a lower level monster. Now we're also going to go ahead and console log an alert message for our user to say, like, hey, a wild monster has appeared. It's named, and then monster name. Now, we aren't really revealing anything else about the monster at this time, just for a little bit of suspense, I guess. Everybody comparing their birth dates. Yeah. I love the variety. I love that we have a lot of folks that are of varying decades and stuff in the cohort. It's really fun to hear everybody's unique experiences. Yeah, I dig it. All right, so we have a wild monster appeared. It's named Spike, right? That should be what we see. Now let's have a little bit of interaction. So we'll assume that when Spike appears, Spike is going to attack our heroes, just jumping straight out of the bush. And attacking our heroes. So if I wanted my monster, my Spike, to attack Aurora, so one of our heroes that we created here, if I wanted Spike to attack Aurora, how would I do that? What would I say? Some of you tell me. And remember, we have a method called attack. So that'll take care of the attacking for us, but we just we need to know how to call that. Yep, monster.attack. Yes, you're right. But what do I pass in? So our attack method needs a target. So what do I pass in? Our attack method needs, it has a parameter assigned to it. So so what do I say? Yeah, there you go. Monster.attack Aurora, exactly. Monster.attack. And then we need to pass in the target that we're attacking, because that's going to, so when the monster attacks, it's obviously going to do some damage. And so we want to make sure that that damage is being assigned to the target that we passed in. So Aurora. Okay, and we're also going to have our monster attack Glacius as well, because apparently the monster can can have two turns essentially on the initial attack. So the rules here aren't super set in stone. Yeah, so monster should be able to attack both of them. But then I want attach. No, yeah, monster's not gonna get attached to Aurora. Yeah. Oh, Victorian, thank you. Good to see you. Thank you. Yeah, we're not going to attach, and then no Velcro. Oh, it's a friendly monster. Yeah, probably not anymore. Not after this. Yeah, too bad. There could be, if you wanted, you could create another method called attach, where you could have you could have it be like a random probability of being a friendly monster, and the characters have to determine that. That might be kind of cool. That might be kind of a cool thing to code in there. It would be a friendly monster. Yeah. Okay, so we've got those attacks. Now we're going to have our characters, our heroes, we're going to have them strike back. So in this case, we're just going to reverse it, right? We can call the same method, just have Aurora attack the monster. And we're going to have Glacius do it too, because they're probably understandably a little bit peeved at this at the moment. So they're both going to attack our monster. Now, at the end of this, we should, now if you recall in our method up here, the moment that the target is eliminated, so when their health drops below 0, we do console log and we say, hey, we give a status up to the user saying the target has been eliminated. So we don't need like a special message down here. At the end though, we still do want to know our character stats at the end of that encounter. So we're going to go ahead and say console log, oops. So win or lose, we want to know their stats. So Aurora dot describe. So just like we did at the beginning, we're gonna essentially just do another stat check on both of them and see how they're doing. Yeah. Okay, so this should work, and what this should do is basically just simulate an encounter between our heroes and a monster. So we're going to go ahead and clear our console here, and we'll run the code again. See what we get. Oh, and I didn't say, I told you guys I was going to do that. I didn't save my code first and try to run it without saving. I always do that. All right. Hey, there we go. It could be a giant leech. Yeah, exactly. For attaching. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So welcome to the adventure. Here are our heroes. Right here, this is the initial describe, right? And then we have our little message saying a wild monster has appeared. It's named Spike. And then we go through the attack sequence. And so there's multiple rounds of this, because we had both of our heroes attack. So, the monster attacks first and then attacks both the heroes, and then our heroes attack back. So here's the first attack. And then it essentially basically says Spike attacks Aurora and causes 20 damage points. And then it gives Aurora's remaining health points. Because remember, Aurora started at 150. Spike attacked for 20. And so the remainder is correct. So that worked. Spike attacks Glacius and causes 20 damage. And Glacius has 110 points left. They started with 130 and now they're down to 110. So perfect. Now our characters fight back. Aurora attacks Spike and causes 25 damage. Spike has 15 left. Only final hit XP granted. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, this is hardcore. This is like, 90s text RPG impossibleness, right? First try. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is old school, hardcore. You don't get XP for just, puny hits. It's got to be an elimination. Yeah. So Aurora. So who's gonna get the elimination then? Aurora attacks Spike and causes 25 damage. Spike has 15 left. Glacius attacks Spike and causes 30 damage. Glacius eliminated Spike and wins 10 experience points. Yeah. Yeah, so the console log in VS Code is using the Code Runner extension. So you can search it up in VS Code. Just go to the extensions, this little icon here on the left, and search it up. Um, if it's not working, so if you install it and it says, it gives you an error message if you try to use it, you may need to install Node, Node.js, which is pretty easy to do. But you'll need to make sure you have Node.js installed on your machine in order for this to work. Yeah. Um, so the monster has been eliminated. Now at the very end, we do our final stat check. So Aurora, is down 20 health points, still has the same strength, but doesn't have any XP. And then Glacius is also down 20, still strength, still the same strength, but now 10 more XP that they got from winning that encounter. Yeah, so this is the base sort of our little exercise here, right? We all we've done is we've coded the base. Now, when we get back from the break, we're going to go ahead and actually go into the actual problem. What they're asking us to do is they're asking us to modify this class. So before we go on break, does anybody have any questions about what we just did here? Before we go on to the actual modifications that we need to make for the homework problem itself. Does anybody have any questions about the base of it that we just set up, or any of the various references and that sort of thing that we made down here? How did I turn on the uh, I just downloaded any version of Node, whatever Node, whatever the most current version is. Yeah, the installer should the Node installer, I just left everything default, just I went to just Node.js, whatever the website was, just installed everything default. I think I opted out of the newsletter, but that was about it. And everything worked fine. Yeah, download Node.js. Yep. And somebody asked about the permanent word wrap. Again, that was another thing that was in the settings. So it was in preferences and then settings. And then I think I probably just searched for word wrap somewhere. Word wrap. Yeah. So editor word wrap. And I just set it to like, I think I just messed around with the settings a little bit, but I think, this should be on. Yeah. So just go to file preferences and settings and then search for it. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Redev. Oh, please scroll up to show the attack. Sure. And also too, you can find this exact everything that we just coded. You can find it in this chapter of JSWay. All we did was we just coded what was in the text. So I'm pasting the link here. I'll still scroll up for you, but you can also find the exact what we just coded. It's in there as well in that chapter that I sent you. Yeah, and Rascal shared an alternate there, the Quokka extension as well, which apparently does behave a little bit differently. I'm kind of just emulating CodePen with this extension. Yeah, Alt Z does turn on word wrap. I'm hoping that the setting that I enabled turns it on more permanently, because I have multiple, whenever I do these streams, I have multiple windows open, VS Code, one with my personal notes and the other one where I'm doing live coding. And so I want to have word wrap kind of just come on in both windows, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and take our break. All right, so 5 minutes, and I will see you guys back here in just a minute. I'll always scroll back through the chat whenever I sit back down. So if you've got any questions, feel free to ask. But yeah, so go get a drink, use the restroom, whatever you need to do. I will see you back here, and let me get a timer pulled up for you guys. 5-minute timer. And I'll see you guys back here in a few. Code War break. Yeah, do a Code War. Do an 8Q. If you're not going to get up, if you're not going to take your proper break, at least, do it. Slam out a 8Q Code War while we're waiting. All right, I'll see you in a minute. All right, folks, come on back. Come on back. We got about 30 seconds or so. And I'm going to check here. Make sure I didn't miss too much. Code War break. Yep. All right, cool. Rascal's out here converting everyone to the constant Code Wars grind. I like it. I like it. Hey, I'm not telling you what to do and what not to do, Tricia. All right, stop the timer before it beeps at you. All right, let's get back to it. Just reading the last few messages in the chat here, make sure I didn't miss anything. See at the side of the road with a sign that reads "Will work for Code Wars problems," right? Misleading asks, has everyone already made the Pokemon API do something else? I'll admit that I haven't. Turn my webcam back on. I actually was one of those kids that when I was growing up, my parents wouldn't let me play Pokemon. So I really, like, I think they're cute. Like, they're adorable little critters, but I don't know anything about the mechanics. I don't know anything about like what they do or how they are, or, anything really about them. I'm sure Leon is just shaking his head in pure disappointment at the moment because he's Pokemon crazy. But yeah, I don't know nothing about them. So it's a little bit hard to go into the API and, figure out what I should make it do. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to, like, you know, I'm gonna have to look at other people's projects honestly to figure out like how to organize the information that is coming out of the API, just because I don't have any frame of reference for it. You got here at the beginning of break and forgot you were on Twitch. Probably scared the crud out of you when I started talking, huh? Oh, that's funny. You get an itchy feeling if you don't do 5 Code Wars a day. Yeah, I mean, they are very cute. I have nothing against them. I just never, it was never in my sphere of, things I did. Um, yeah, I'm probably gonna have to find some sort of like project reference or tutorial just to help get me in the frame of what I should be pulling out of there. Y'all made your own rules, yeah. As far as I knew in my elementary school, the kids that were into Pokemon, like, they mostly just traded the cards that they thought were cool. Like, I don't know that anybody actually, like, I mean, they played the Game Boy games or whatever, but I don't know that anybody actually played the card game, at least not properly. Sorry to yellow with that clear purple plastic Game Boy. I did have the clear purple plastic Game Boy. I still have it. It's in a lovely metal box. I think it's in my basement with all of my games. Yeah, it's all there if I ever want to fire it back up. I've still got that. It had like it was like a metal. I had like a little metal suitcase for it with like a handle. It was hardcore. It was like a makeup that box. It was like a makeup box, but it was solid metal, and it had a metal handle. And so of course I dumped all the makeup crap out of it and put my Game Boy in there. Damn right. All right, let's get back to it. I'm loving the nostalgia discussion here though. It's rad. Yeah. Okay. So we've set up our basic class and some basic operations that we want to perform on it. We basically are doing an RPG turn, right? We're doing a turn of an RPG. And now the homework is asking us to make some modifications to this, to add some additional characteristics for our characters, and then to have some additional complexity within the class itself. So let's look at this. I need to get my thing pulled back up. All right, so we are in the JSWay chapter 9, and we're looking at problem 2, which is called character inventory. So for your convenience, I've got it already commented out up here at the top. We're going to clear the console here. All right, so improve the example RPG to add character inventory management according to the following rules. A character's inventory contains a number of gold and a number of keys. Okay, so let's start with that. Each character begins with 10 gold and 1 key. All right, so that's the first thing we've been asked to do. Is been asked to add 2 more things to the character's inventory. Now, when we say inventory, we essentially want it to be something that can belong to the character and be repeatedly referenced, right? So to me, that sounds like properties. We want to add a couple of additional properties to the character. So we can just declare them down here. We'll say this dot gold, and we've been told explicitly that the character should begin with 10 gold. So this dot gold should equal 10, and this dot keys is going to equal 1. That's our starter value. It'll likely be modified later on. And the next thing, so we've done these two things, right? The next thing is that the character description must show the inventory state. Okay, so we have a method down here called describe. And so it sounds as though what that's asking us to do is to modify our describe method so that when it's called, the entire state of the inventory is shown. Because right now it just says the name, the health, the strength, and the XP, right? So name, health, strength, and XP. Now we just need to add these two additional properties so that they output to the console whenever that describe method is called. So let's say, so this name has health, XP points, strength, and, health, strength, XP points. And then we just need to add a couple of additional things here. So we're going to say this dot gold and this dot, template literal. So this dot keys. And then I'm also going to add a period because it was bothering me that the original sentence does not have a period, and also an Oxford comma because, this dot gold and gold there. This dot keys. And I'm going to add an Oxford comma because I don't care what anyone says. I like the Oxford comma. So now if we were to just run a describe on any of the characters that we've created, it should return now the full list of their inventory stats, including the gold and the keys. Yeah, got some other Oxford comma fans in there. I was saying on one of the Discord channels, I was actually a copy editor for a newspaper for a while, and what a copy editor does is they take the stories that the reporters write. So the reporter writes the story, right? And then the copy editor basically fact checks the things that are in the story for accuracy, and then they also edit for grammar, length, style, that kind of thing. And our style guide actually mandated that we had to get rid of any Oxford comma that we found, and I was always a little heartbroken because my employer mandated that I wasn't allowed to use the Oxford comma. So it was a little sad, but I don't even think newspapers have copy editors anymore, at least not from what I see. But all right, so we've modified our describe. So we've done most of these things. So we'll say done. Oops. Put it inside the comment here. We'll say done. Cool. Done. Character description now shows the inventory state, so we'll check that off as well. Now, the last thing we need to do. When a character slays another character, the victim's inventory goes to its vanquisher. Interesting. Okay, so when our attacking character slays essentially a target, so remember our attack is attacking a target, right? Then the target's inventory goes to the character. Okay. So obviously we'll need to modify our attack method, right? So let's look at how we should do that. So first we need to find the area in our attack method in which it's determined whether or not a target is eliminated. Okay. So essentially we have right here, if target health is greater than 0, then say X health points left. Now, our else statement then assumes that the target has been eliminated. So we do a couple things here. We set our target health equal to 0, and we assign our bonus XP, right? So there's a couple different ways we could do this. I'll show you the way that I chose to do it, and then you can maybe play around with other ways. How else would you know that a panda eats, shoots, and leaves? Exactly. Yeah, it's the Oxford comma. That's what it's for. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, and Cardi thought it was a grammatical error. Well, it's one of those things where, it's certain people, swear it's the worst thing ever. Certain people swear by it. They love it. So, like I say, some style guides say to eliminate it. Others, say it's no problem. It just depends. All right, so right now we have a console log that's, that's saying such and such eliminated a target and wins bonus XP experience points. Now, we also want to make sure that the additional inventory items that we added are also going to the character who did the elimination, right? So, and then we want to inform the user of that as well. So we can say in here, first thing, obviously we're going to need to do a reassignment of some values, but I think the first thing we want to do is alert the user as to how much additional inventory the character is going to get. Before we reassign it to the character and maybe change those values around, let's tell the user how much they're going to get here in a second. So, oh, got to stretch. Okay, so stretch. Yeah. Oh man, my shoulders popped. Oh, on my right shoulder, both shoulders pop. That's pretty good. Oh, no neck crack this time, but both shoulders pop. That's pretty good. All right, so experience points, comma. So let's add a couple of additional phrases to this. So if I wanted to tell the user that they were going to get all of the gold from the monster they just eliminated, how would I reference that inside of my template literal here? What would I say? Hi, Lilo. If I wanted to tell them that they were getting all of the target's gold, what would I say? Ah, good guess, misleading. Yeah. So you mentioned there they get this dot gold. Oh, thank you, anonymous cheer. 1 bit. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Much appreciated. Ah, okay. So yeah, we're actually going to want, instead of this dot gold, we're going to want target dot gold. Yeah, yeah. And now why is that? Because if you recall, this dot gold references our character. So we don't want to tell the user how much gold they already have. We want to say how much gold are you going to get from the target that was just eliminated. So in this case, we're going to say target dot gold, and then we haven't done the reassignment yet. We haven't given the gold to the character yet. We want to tell them first how much. We want to tell the user first how much they're going to get, and then we're going to assign it to the character. So target gold, and then we're going to do the same thing for keys. And target keys key. There. Gold. Yeah. All right. So we've told the user. Now let's do the actual assignment. So we've already said this XP plus equal bonus XP. Now we'll do the rest of the assignments. And so essentially now we're going to say this dot gold, as someone mentioned earlier correctly. Patricia, yep, you got it. Said plus equal target dot gold and this dot keys. And remember, we're doing a plus equals here because we want to, if there is already, let's say they already have 100 gold, we don't want to wipe out that gold and only give them, I don't know, 10 gold or whatever from the monster. We want to add it to the existing gold that they already have in their inventory. So target.keys. Yeah. And now the last thing we want to do is, oh, bye Presidio. Yeah, feel free to catch the VOD later. And also, if anybody has to drop off at any point, my VODs are just available right there on my Twitch channel homepage. So everything's recorded. You can always catch it later if you need to. Oh, Cranberry, man, you are multitasking. Woo. All right. So we've assigned, now we've assigned that the value of the gold and the keys from the target to the hero, but that doesn't actually change the monster that was slain, right? So that doesn't do anything to the eliminated target. So we also need to make sure that we set the target gold equal to 0 to essentially wipe it out, and the target keys equal to 0. That completes the inventory transfer essentially. So if our heroes are, picking the pockets of the eliminated target, like so many D&D games, you want to make sure that you're also, you're not somehow doubling the gold and the keys and leaving some in the pocket. You're taking it all out and assigning it to the hero. Snarfin, how does target know which gold? So I assume you're asking how do we know how much gold the target has? Is that the question? Is that the question? I think that may be what you're asking. So in this case, target is a separate object that's been created. We assume that you're as long as you're attacking a valid target, we assume that it's a new character that has been created using the same class. So it'll have all the same properties as our heroes. And so in this case, we've passed in some parameters, some initial parameters, but we've also set some basic parameters as well. So in this case, every new character that gets created starts out with 10 gold and a key. So our monsters are also any monster that we create, assuming we use this character class to create it, the constructor, is going to start out with 10 gold and a key. So if we pass in a monster object as our target into our attack method, it's going to have all those properties. And so target.gold is going to be 10. So that's how it can reference it. Yeah, so target, in this case, target is just the parameter that we pass in to our attack method. In this case, it's always going to be another character, whether it's a monster, maybe a bandit, or another player character potentially, if it's a versus 1v1 type situation. But it's going to have the same type of properties. Yeah, awesome. You got it. Cool. All right. So we've done that. We've modified, and I believe we've accomplished everything the question is asking of us. So we've increased the inventory to include golden keys. We've assigned the appropriate values to golden keys. The character description must show the inventory state. We already did that. And the last thing was when the character slays another character, the victim's inventory goes to its vanquisher. And I believe we've done that as well. So let's test it out. Let's see. So we're going to run the same sequence again. We're going to create a couple characters. We're going to see their initial stats. We're going to create a monster. The monster is going to attack our characters. They are going to counterattack and eventually slay the beast, as it were. And then we're going to see their ending stats. And if we've done this properly, one of our characters, the one who actually, dealt the elimination blow, is going to should have and some extra gold and an extra key as well. So we'll see if we've done it properly. Yeah. All right, let's run it. And I'm going to remember to save this time before I run it so it actually works. All right, let's run it. Okay, so again, we see the initial stats are up here for both Aurora and Glacius. Now, we already know, spoiler alert, Glacius is the one who eliminates the monster. So we can see down here, Glacius eliminates Spike and wins 10 experience points. Now, here's our new stuff. Glacius also gets 10 gold and a key. So at the very end, our end readout on our stats should include those additional values. So Aurora, we can see, still has 0 XP. They're starting 10 gold. That's what they started with, was 10 gold and a key. But Glacius has 10 XP points from eliminating the monster, as well as double the gold that they got from the monster, and an additional key as well. So their inventory has been updated to reflect that they were the one that won the encounter. Oh, Scam MVR. I'm actually, I don't have this on GitHub because it's actually part of the homework. And I would really like you guys to be able to, complete, even if you're coding along with me, I want you to be the one who is typing this out versus just grabbing it from my GitHub. However, you can find the starter code that we started with, so that the base for the RPG, then we just slightly modified it. You can find that in JSWay, and I'll give you the link. So literally, it's all in there. So there you go. You can feel free to copy and paste from there, from the base, and then if you want to make some modifications, just rewatch the VOD and feel free to code along. Oh, and Rascal just shared it as well. Thank you, Rascal. Yeah. Okay, so no worries, Rascal. Totally fine. I appreciate all your help always. Um, okay, so that essentially finishes that problem. Now, I promise the other problems are not as long as this one. I just really wanted to take a deep dive into building a fairly long class and its components, and I wanted to show you guys how it can be leveraged pretty effectively to build a series of objects and make those objects even interact with each other. That's what I think is so cool about this example, is that we've got these objects and they're interacting. Also, too, did my captions stop working? I just noticed that. I'm sorry if they did. Are they still working? If anybody's using captions, let me know. Oh, okay, you can see them? Awesome, great. I can't see them on my screen. It just happens sometimes. I just wanted to double check. Great, thank you so much for checking. Oh, good. Okay, good, Freaker. I'm glad that this is maybe helping break your mental block a little bit. Yeah, good deal. Okay, so let's look at some of the other problems now. Now that we've kind of established our baseline, our foothold for what classes are, how we can reference them, that kind of thing, the components of a class, let's do the other problems now. So any more questions before we leave this one? Why does the XP not, yeah, so in this case, the rules of our game is that our characters start out with 0 XP. So up here, our initial declaration is 0 XP, right? And down here in our attack method, we essentially said that we declared a variable called bonus XP. And if the character won the encounter, if they were the one that did the elimination, then they would get those 10 XP. It wasn't so much a doubling as just, so let's say that Spike had 200 gold in their inventory, and Glacius slew Spike. Then in that case, Glacius would end up with 200 gold plus whatever they already had in their inventory. So it's not a doubling so much as just taking the gold and the keys out of the target's inventory and putting them into the character's inventory. It just so happened that it was a doubling in this case. Does that help you? So we could have the XP be whatever we wanted. It could be 100 XP. We're making the rules here. So oh, are you talking about Scam MVR? Are you talking about the if you were building like a more robust RPG? Is it better? Would you prefer to load a local JSON file or host it somewhere else and fetch it? I think it just depends on how complex you could build an API. There is a D&D API for all the super complex interactions and that kind of thing. I think it just depends on how complex you're getting. Like if you are, oh, hey Tricia, thank you so much. My goodness, 6 months. Thank you. Much appreciated. I think I just pushed something. Yeah, and thank you so much, Adrisha. Wow. Love you. Yeah, so I guess I think it just depends on how complex you want to be. Like if you might start just oh, Scam MVR. What? You're the best. Thank you. I think it just depends on how complex your game is becoming. I would suggest maybe you start doing it locally, just see how wild things are getting, and then if it becomes too hot to handle, then then maybe port it out to an API. But that's just my very inexperienced 2 cents. Rascal says, if you had the stats in bulk, then you would go with a JSON and map over the array of JSON objects to create all the new objects. Yeah. I think we're going to be getting to that very shortly here in class as well. Maybe Leon will have some thoughts on when you should, kind of like outsource it to an API or keep it locally. Thank you so much to my new subscribers. That's so awesome. Y'all are the best. Love you. Okay, let's look at some of the other problems, assuming there's no more questions. I'm always happy to switch back if somebody has a question on this. But let's move on for now. So let's go to the first problem, which is about dogs. And it involves, so this is kind of almost like a little bit of a reverse of the previous question that we just did. So in this case, we have our statements, which are assuming, like, basically they assume that a class called dog already exists, and they're trying to create some new objects off of that class. Oh my goodness, a hype train. Oh boy. Yeah, Rascal says that's what a database does for you anyway. It has a bunch of raw data, and when you query, it returns it in an object with the literal properties. But yeah, and that's kind of what I was thinking, Rascal, is that you've got enough different stat types. You might want to have some, like, set up a database like a MongoDB, which you're going to learn to do, I assume. And yeah, and go off of that. That might be a fun 100 hours project. Yeah. Okay, so next question. We've got complete the following program to add the definition. Oh, Pink Star, thank you. Whoa, thank you, Pink Star. Always love seeing you here. Oh, and I think we just made it to the first level of the hype train. Goodness, I've only had a couple of those. So complete the following program to add the definition of the dog class. Dogs that are taller than 60 emote grr, grr. And when they bark, other ones yip, woof, woof. Oh, I just made dog noises on stream. Jeepers. All right, so the to-do that we've been given is define the dog class here. Okay, so we need to essentially create the class that's going to allow these create statements to work, really, and to allow these methods to be called. So we need to kind of work backwards, right? So if I was to start a new class, what would I say? If I want to make a brand new class, just all you need to do is just give me the first line. How would I instantiate a class here? Class, yeah. In this case, what is class? Good boy. How many points for a gurgur and how many for a woof woof? Oh man. If we get to level 2, if we finish level 2 on the hype train, then I will do a gurgur and a woof woof for you. Yeah, class dog, exactly. Yep. We can't call it in Scam MVR, as much as I would like to call it class good boy. We can't in this case, because we've already been given the specific class name that's being called here is dog. So unfortunately, I have to call it doggo or dog. All right, so there should be some new channel point redemptions. Yeah. Those take a little bit to set up, but we might get those. We might get those in the rotation, maybe. All right, so class dog. All right, now inside of our class, what's the first thing that I should add inside of my class? If I want to build, big clue here, if I want to build a new dog object, what do I need here? First thing I want to add inside my class. A dog with some class, indeed. Yeah, we want a constructor. Lalo, but you overlook that means I can still say doggo. So for anybody that doesn't like the word doggo, too bad. You're in for it now. All right. So inside of our doggo class, Lalo, Rookie mistake. All right, doggo. Inside of our doggo class, we're gonna have a constructor, and we're gonna pass in our doggo name, species. Ah, oh, dang it, rascal! I got indeed. Oh boy. Okay. All right. So canine. We're gonna pass in our canine name, species, and size. Now, how did I know what I was passing in there? So let's step back for a minute here. How did I know that I needed these three parameters to pass in to my constructor? Well, let's look down here at what we've been given. Like this is the given statements in the problem. I did. Yeah. I thought I was going to go get, and then I got. Indeed. All right. So 8:45, the ban ends. We'll just say I didn't pay attention to when it started. So 8:45. All right. So our given statements in the problem. So it's assigning the canine class to this fang variable. And we can see that down here in our console log, it's listing some of the properties of that object in the console, right? So we have a name, we have a species, and then we have a size. And so in order, I need to essentially assign those somehow. And we can see that also here we're passing in to our class, we're passing in Fang, Boarhound, and 75. So what we've been given is guiding me to tell me how the constructor for our canines should be built. And so name, species, and size, that's what's going to be passed in. Oh. Did somebody give some stubs? Did I miss that? Oh my gosh. All right. Y'all, I'm nothing if not true to my word. All right. So what was it? Grr, grr, and woof, woof. All right. Y'all are going to have to max out the hype train if you want me to do that again. No, y'all are seriously great. It says somebody gifted some subs, but I don't see it in my feed here. So I apologize if I missed you. Maybe that was from earlier. Yay! Clip, Trisha. Oh man. Okay, so we have our constructor, and we know that we're passing in the name and the species and the size. So in this case, inside of our constructor, we use the this keyword, right? So we're going to say this name, and that's going to align with the name that's passed in. This species, it's going to align with the species that's passed in. Thanks all. Oh, hydrate. Yep. There you go. Ice cold tea. It's great. So this name, this species, and last thing was this size. And that's going to be assigned to this whatever size gets passed in. And those then are attached to the canine object that we are creating. 2 minutes left. Okay. So that completes our constructor. Dog bounty hunter, human. Oh, I said the word. I'm sorry. Oh. Add one to the tally. I was doing so good. Okay, so that should work for the first part of this, right? So if we were to console log the name, the species, and the size in this statement, it should work. So why don't we try that? We'll forget about the second part for now. Yeah, we are going to do that in a second Code Zulu, sorry. Yeah, we're going to do that in just a second. We're going to add a method. But first, let's make sure the first part of this works. All we're doing in the first part is we're just logging the properties, right? So we're creating a couple of canines and we are logging their various properties. So let's try that. Now I'm going to save. I'm going to remember to save. Yeah, so look at this. Fang is a boarhound measuring 75, and Snowy is a terrier measuring 22. All right. And it is 8:45, so I can say dog again and doggo if I so choose. No stopping me now. All right. And so the first part of this worked, but now let's look at the second part that we've been asked to do. So we can clearly say, hey, look, a cat. Dumpster. Okay, fine. Dumpster has just banned the enhanced word of dog. So I can't say that for 5 minutes. All right, I should be able to struggle through. So the second thing we've been asked to do here is, so we can clearly say console log look a cat fang.name. So okay, we already have name assigned, right? And then but barks, we don't have that yet. We have fang.bark. So we need to create fang.bark, and we can clearly see that this is what this is being called here. This is a method that's being called because we got our parentheses here. It's not a property; it's a method. So according to this, we're going to need a new method here called bark. Well, I can still say I can still say dog. However, I've been banned from saying the more memeified version of it. Puppo, indeed. Yes. Okay, so we have a method called bark, and we've been given the parameters that this method needs, or we've been given the logic for this method already. The problem gave it to us. So dogs taller than 60 emote grr grr. I'm not going to act it out this time. When they bark, and other ones yip, woof, woof. Okay. So essentially, we just need to write a statement here that's going to return either gurgur or woof woof, depending on the dog's size, right? Um, so this should be a fairly simple statement for us to do. Let's go Code Wars. Let's go full Code Wars. I know Leon says to never go full Code Wars, but we're going to go full Code Wars on this. This is going to be a one-liner. Let's do it. All right. So if I want the output from my method to just to be placed directly inside of this template literal object right here, I don't want to console log it, but I still want it to show up. So what would I say? What keyword would I use here inside of my method to not console log it like we've been doing before, but I just want it to show up inside the template literal? Your VS Code, Tricia, your VS Code is more strict than mine, certainly. Return, yeah, you all know what you're doing. Exactly. So we're going to return it. We're just going to return it. So it'll just plop itself right into that template literal there at the end. So we're going to return, and we want to essentially check and see whether or not the dog is taller than 60. So in this case, we're going to do it with a ternary operator, which is a single line evaluator of true or false, essentially, single line if statement, essentially. So in this case, we're going to say this dot size. We want to check and see if the size of the dog is greater than 60. Now, we don't need to say, we don't really need to say anything else here. We don't need an if or anything like that, because this statement can just be evaluated as a ternary operator by using the question mark syntax there, and then a colon dividing the true and false returns. So if it's larger than 60, we return this. Okay, and then else, the colon here just denotes the else. We say woof, woof. Oops. Okay, and so that's essentially just going to do that check for us and return the appropriate value. So let's try it and see if it works. Oh, yeah, rascals out here getting people to the dark side of the Code Wars side. Hey, I'm not against it. Okay, let's see if this works now. It should give us 2 console logs for each dog. Oh, but what did I forget to do? I forgot to save it. I told you I was going to do that. All right. Ah, hello. Look at that. All right, and down here we also have the appropriate. Thanks, Pink Star. Yeah, down here we have the appropriate results that they gave us. So in the textbooks they gave us the desired results. So let's make sure it matches. So Fang is a boarhound dog measuring 75. Look a cat. Fang barks. Grr. That's appropriate. Snowy is a terrier dog measuring 22. Look a cat. Snowy barks. Woof woof. Hey, there we go. 1 letter variables and all. All right, fine. Well, I guess we don't really have. I mean, I don't really want to reduce my property names here. So we in this case, it's not super applicable. But yeah, there are some cases where you can definitely go down to 1 letter. Not that you should, but you can. And remove all that wasteful white space. I gotta have my extra carriage returns. Yeah. So it appears that we have evaluated to the appropriate result. I am going to get rid of some of this extra white space right here though, just so we can kind of see the whole thing together. Okay, so does anybody have any questions about how we built this or why we did what we did in an appropriate situation? Now, do regex? No. I was so happy when Leon last night when in class when he was like, "Don't do it." I'm like, yeah. Like on my team at work, so I work on a team of developers at work, and most of them are way more experienced than I am. I am the least experienced developer on my team, and some of these other folks have like decades of dev experience in various languages and various roles, and there's one person on our team who could do regex, and even these other like experienced developers were looking at him like, wow, you're a wizard. So even some experienced developers, like, or a lot of them don't really mess with regex. Yeah, I would say here's what I would say probably learning, like, getting a deep understanding of regex probably isn't worth it. In most cases, you can find, if you do need to use it, you can find code snippets to do the exact thing that you want to do. You can just find them everywhere and just copy and paste, to apply it if you need to. Yeah, but for this specific problem, though, any questions here? Okie doke. I'm gonna take one more drink here. How do we go drier? In this case, I feel like this is pretty dry. I mean, we aren't really we aren't really repeating ourselves here. I mean, part of the reason we're using a class is so that we don't have to create these 2 objects literally, like, separately, right? Like, typing each property out by hand for each one, right? That's why we made a class with a constructor, so that we only have to do it once. Yeah, for the katas that need replace all, yeah, for some reason replace all doesn't work in Code Wars, right? Yeah, I could get rid of the you get rid of that. And two, yeah, technically we could remove the assignments to the properties, because in this case we aren't making any modifications. Um, we aren't manipulating the size before we evaluate it to see the result of this ternary. So we could actually pass size straight into this method, right? Because we aren't manipulating it. I wouldn't say that's probably a good idea. Just because in the future you might want to add a different method that's going to manipulate the size first. So yeah, I mean, you could do that. DriveNut asked, do you need function bar? Nope, not in this case, because we're inside of a class. And so when you declare a method inside of a class, all you need to do is just say the name of the method, and then, and pass and set up any parameters that you might need. Yeah, so not in this case. But outside, if I were to declare something like that outside, like down here outside of my class, then yeah, I would need to say do the usual function setup. Oh, rascal. Getting so dry. Piece of shoot asks, can't you do this dot name instead of this dot name? Well, let's try it. Okay. Yeah, so now see as this might be too hard to see on stream, but as I get rid of that, we can see that the name, species, and size are now have now sort of blanked out. Like they're clearly showing they aren't. So you can, if and as I hover over it, you can say size is declared, but its value is never read. So let's just run it. I mean, there's no harm in this. I'll save it and run it. See what happens. And we could also just say, and technically down here we could just say size, but let's leave it as is for now. Yeah. So now what we get back is undefined is an undefined dog measuring undefined. Look, a cat, undefined, barks, woof woof. Because it defaulted to the else statement there. That was fun. Good VS Code. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Hanso High. Inheritance and polymorphism confuse. Yeah, they confuse me too. I think the most important thing to do is to not get too hung up on like the terminology and like the what inherits what. I think that it's the best thing to do is just keep applying it. Keep trying things like what we just did here. We just tried it. There's no harm in trying and seeing what happens. What if I don't? What if I pass in the parameters but don't assign them? Like, what does it do? Or what if I didn't? What if I forgot the this keyword? What does it do? Or what if I use the this keyword in other places? What does that do? And so I think just the more just reading about it is not enough to start to understand what actually happens. And so that's why I really like doing these projects and assignments. Yeah, piece of shoot. Yeah, that it might be another language. I don't know. Yeah, I don't have enough familiarity with classes in other language to tell you, but so let's put these back. Actually, I'm just gonna Control Z it. There we go. Yeah, and so I would say practice, definitely do all the exercises. So if you're part of the cohort, I'm assuming you're part of the 100 devs cohort, Hanso High. If just go through the exercises, like any examples that are in the reading, do them like as you code along as you're reading. Practice it in VS Code. If the reading says to do something a certain way, maybe and you're not sure why, definitely try it the way they say to do it, but then tweak it a little bit and see if it still works. See what errors you get. If you get errors, see what errors you get and read the error text. See if you can understand what the error is telling you. Those can be really helpful. Yeah. Okay, good question so far. Looks like we are coming up to the top of the hour again. We got one more problem to do. This is actually wrapping up really nicely. We're spending we're spending a good amount of time on each problem, but we're also getting through them pretty good. So I'm happy with this so far. So yeah, let's take a break here. Let's save this again, and we'll just run it one more time. Make sure I put everything back the way it should be. Yep, there we go. Yeah, and coming up with a project that inspires you will help a lot too. J7. So you, in order to do it the way I'm doing it, like sort of like how it is in CodePen, you'll need to install an extension called Code Runner. So you can go over here on the left, and you can search. Click this little square doobie here and search for Code Runner. See, it's right there. And install that extension. And then also in order for it to work, If you try to use it and it's not working, you're going to have to also install Node.js, which if you're not comfortable doing it, that's fine. I think we're probably going to eventually install it in class. But yeah, Node.js is required for this extension to work. So you'll just need to download that and install it as well directly onto your machine. Yeah. All right, break time. Let's go ahead and take a break, 5 minutes. Feel free to ask any questions in chat, and I always go through the chat whenever I sit back down, so I will see them. But yes, talk amongst yourselves, 5 minutes. Go use the restroom, get up, stretch, get a fresh cup of tea, and I will see you back here. We're going to finish the third problem in the, oh, you got it running. Woo, nice. Yeah, we're going to finish the third and final problem in the JSWay homework. And then, a large portion of your homework for the week is going to be done. How cool is that? Yeah. All right, here we go. I'll see you back here in just a few minutes, okay? See you shortly. Okay, we still got about 1 minute and 30 seconds. Nobody panic. Um, I'm just waiting for my kettle to boil so I can make a fresh cup of tea. I think I've said it before, but I need like one of those. I need one of those like turbo kettles that y'all have over in Europe. Man, those things boil water so fast. I think it's because of the higher the different voltage in the outlets, I believe. But was like, man, maybe I could like get one of those kettles and hook up like a high voltage connection in my kitchen just for my kettle. What kind am I making? What kind of tea am I making? I am making bargain basement, just black tea, just plain black tea. Because I drink so much of it that like I don't like to spend a ton of. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to stop it. I don't like to spend a ton of money on tea, just because I drink multiple cups per day. Um, Need a big capacitor and flash boil. Yeah, I'm planning on remodeling my kitchen, so we could get super crazy with it. I don't know. We'll see. The potential is there. Okay, I can hear the water's coming to a boil, so forgive me. Give me just a couple more seconds, okay? Stop the timer, and I'm going to minimize it, and we'll get back to the code window. So I'll let you guys look at the problem. I've got the problem coded out here. We'll clear the console. So take a second and read that, and I can hear the water is just coming to a boil. So then I'm going to pour my tea. The Folgers of tea. Exactly, Scam VR. That's what it is. It is the it is the Folgers of tea, the store brand. Rita, do I like oolong tea? I don't know. I don't think I've tried it enough. I'll need to try it again. I haven't tried it in forever. I don't remember, honestly. Hanso, hi, can you follow doing Java? I don't know. Maybe somebody with some experience in Java can speak to that. I don't think that Java and JavaScript are necessarily very similar. Not that I have a ton of experience with it, but maybe somebody who has some knowledge of Java can speak. 1 second. Okay, gonna go pour my tea. Give me like 10 seconds. Okay, awesome. We got some voices in here of folks who do have some familiarity with Java. So thank you guys for sharing. Sounds like there is the possibility of following along if you already know Java. That's awesome. Great. Okay, I'm gonna turn my webcam back on. There we go. All right, also I'm gonna turn on a lamp as well. There we go. Get a little bit of extra lighting in here so that I don't look like the complete, computer dwelling gremlin that I am. Thank you for the context, folks. Yeah, that's much appreciated. Okay, so let's look at this problem. So this problem is asking us to build a list of accounts. And it says, let's build upon a previous account object exercise. I think that may have been like several chapters ago. I didn't look too hard. I didn't look back too hard for it to see what that exercise was, because we are perfectly capable of doing this from scratch with everything we know now. So it says a bank account is defined by a name property, a balance property that's initially set to 0, a credit method, adding the value passed as an argument to the account balance. So here's what we've been given. We've been told we're gonna have at least 2 properties, and we're gonna have a method that takes in a value and adds it to the balance. And then we're going to have a second method. It says a describe method that returns the account description. And so that's just the basic setup. That's what our class is going to need to consist of. Rascal says, so Java and JavaScript are like much like how ham and hamsters have nothing in common except the name. That's pretty good. Or car and carpet. Yeah, I've heard that one. But the ham and hamsters, that's my new fave. All right. So anyway, so we've been told what our basic class is going to consist of. And then we also we've been asked to, the specific task we've been given is to write a program that creates 3 accounts, one belonging to Sean, another to Brad, and the third one to George's. Sorry if I'm not saying that properly. Also, too, one thing to note here is that if you go back and you look at the original problem in the JSWay, I'm going to go to it here. So real quick, let's just look at the original problem, how it's written in the JSWay. I'm going to zoom in a little bit for you. So in the JSWay, we're clearly, the properties are given to the basic components of our account object or class are given to us in bullet points down here. But the actual task we've been given is just one long sort of run-on statement. And so, especially like in Code Wars, when you're given these types of long run-on statements, the easiest way to kind of parse what it's actually asking in the order which it's asking you to do things, what I like to do is I like to try to split them out on first find each task and split those tasks out on separate lines. And so what I've done here is I've taken that sort of long run-on statement and I've split it out into multiple lines to make it easier to parse through it a little bit. So the first task is to write a program that creates 3 accounts, one belonging to Sean, one to Brad, and the third one to George's. The next thing it tells us is that these accounts are stored in an array. So we're going to have to create these accounts and then plonk them into an array, because remember, arrays are good for storage, as we talked about earlier. And then next, the program credits 1,000 to each account. Now, it doesn't say a particular denomination, type of money, anything like that. So I'm just assuming it's just going to be an integer value. And the last thing is it shows its description. And so here the its is referring to the overall information about the account. So we've also been given an expected result here. So the expected result is at the end of this, whatever we write, we should get back 3 lines showing the account owner, the balance, and the balance, and for each one. Yeah. Yeah, Rascal out here, Rascal and Cranberry out here dropping the knowledge. I love it. Y'all are so smart. That's why I like you guys. That's why I have you here. All right. So so obviously we're going to need to build, since we're going to need to be creating multiple accounts here, like we could hard code them. Technically we could, right? We could hard code each one, type each, property out literally. But instead, I think what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to build a class with a constructor and a couple methods in it. So let's do that. All right. So I'm going to have a new class, and I'm just going to call it account, just nothing crazy. Now, inside of that, I'm going to have a constructor. And in order to essentially assign, let's say I'm creating a new account from scratch, in order to assign that account to a specific owner of some kind, I'm going to assume that I'm going to need to get the name of that account owner somehow. So essentially when I call to create a new account, I'm going to want to pass in the name of the person that I want to give that account to. So I'm just going to call them the account holder. Okay. Now, inside of this constructor, I'm going to have some properties. So looking at the description of the problem, can anybody tell me what those 2 properties are going to be? What should they be? Just by reading the problem. I want to drink my tea, but it's still too hot. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, name or owner and balance. Um, so they've told us that I mean, and we could definitely say owner too. That's perfectly valid. In this case, I mean, they did tell us it should be called name. I know that name is kind of like a restricted word, but it will let us use it in this case. Just because we're within the limited scope here of the class. So we could say this dot name, and we're going to assign that as the account holder. So whatever account holder we pass in is going to be assigned to the name on the account. And then our balance, we were told specifically that our balance needs to be initially set to 0. So that's what we're going to do. This dot balance is going to equal 0. And so that's really all we need. That's all we were told. The only two things that this account needs. Um, Barnes and Noble. Yeah. All right, and then after that, we were told we now need a couple of methods, and so we've been told we need a credit method. So credit, which is going to do some stuff. So we're not going to fill that out just yet. We will in a second. So we're going to have one called credit, and we're going to have one called describe. Okay, and those are going to do some stuff and potentially have some arguments passed into them. Okay, so let's look at credit first. And we were told a credit method should add the value passed as an argument to the account balance. Okay, so that clearly tells us that something is going to be passed in. We were literally told an argument is going to be passed in here. So I'm going to say amount. We don't know what it is. We just know that an amount is going to be passed in and then should be applied to the account balance. So if I want to add that amount to the account balance, what would I say? Hey, no problem, Rita. Thanks for stopping in. Big Bada Boom, can we do this account holder equals account holder up here in the, yeah, you could. In this case, I mean, they did tell us that it should be called name, so I was just following that. But no, you could call it account holder if you wanted. Piece of Shoot says this dot balance equals amount. Now, that's close, but not quite. What's wrong with this? What what's the problem with this statement? Yeah, exactly. So Stacy and misleading, you're both right. So what it's doing is this would be a reassignment. So let's say let's say that some poor person, let's say Sean, had $100,000 in their account, and they decide to deposit a $5 check from their grandma. Well, if we said this and we passed in $5, that would erase their existing balance, right? Of what did I say, $100,000 and replace it with five. So we don't want to do that. Instead, what we want to do, what a lot of you guys said already, is we want to do a plus equals, which is essentially, if you're not familiar, what that does is it essentially says this dot balance equals this dot balance plus amount. Sorry, plus amount. That's essentially what that's equivalent to, and we can shorthand it by saying just this dot balance plus equals amount. That does the same thing. Yeah. Yeah, Cranberry, there was a little bit of a discussion here. Of something about super. I think I missed it. But yeah, I've seen extends. Yeah, extends. So if I had like a dog class and I wanted to add more properties for a specific breed, I could say like breed Labrador extends dog, which would then take, so that Labrador would then have treat dog as its prototype, from what I understand. And I think we'll cover that a little bit more on Sunday. If you come back on Sunday for my Sunday night stream, we're going to do some more, I think, work with prototypes and that kind of thing. Your paycheck feels like that sometimes. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so that should assign the amount to the balance appropriately. Then the last thing we need to do is we need a describe method. Now, what should our describe method do? A describe method should return the account description, and they gave us some examples of what that should look like. So, owner Sean, balance 1,000. All right. So essentially, all we need to do is just again, we're going to do a return here. Um, and you can you can make this as a console log too. We're just going to do a return. Um, okay, so owner is going to be this dot name or whatever you decided to call it. It's up to you. In this case, it's not. It's just asking for the appropriate end result. However you get there is up to you. And then balance is going to be this dot balance. Yep. Okay, and that should return the appropriate phrase when it's called. All right, but there's more to this. We weren't just asked to just build the class. We have to now perform some specific operations on it. So write a program that creates 3 accounts, one belonging to Sean, another to Brad, and a third one to George's. I don't know. So if I wanted to create a new account for someone named Sean, can anybody tell me how I would do that? What would I say? Just for Sean. Don't worry about the other. They're all going to be the same. So just give me Sean. Let's see if I can take my tea bag out without burning my fingers. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna need to use the new keyword, and we're gonna need to call the account class, and then pass in the appropriate name. Right? Hi, Skin Puff. Welcome. Yeah, exactly. Yep. And and a lot of you said assign it to a variable. Yes, and that's exactly how we could do it. Yep, we could say const Sean equals new account. Remember to capitalize when we call the class, and we're going to pass in the name of Sean, exactly how we want it to be printed later. And so in that case, we'll use a capital. Yeah, and Rascal, that's a good point. So we use const here because the variable is not able to be modified, but the information within the object could potentially be modified. Yeah, so like an empty array could still be pushed to if you wanted. Okay, but we've been asked to do a little bit more than just set up three accounts. So we've been asked to set up 3 accounts, but these accounts are stored in an array. So let's do something. Let's do this a little differently. Instead of just assigning it directly to a variable, we can use our array storage to essentially just create all of these accounts at once and immediately drop them into an array. So let's do that. So rather than having to have 3 separate variables, let's just do one, and it's an array. Because remember, arrays are great at storage, right? So we're going to have a new array. I'm just going to get rid of this. We're just going to have one array, and it's going to hold all these accounts. So it's going to be called account list. Set it equal, and kind of like Rascal was saying, like I'm declaring a constant here, but I'm going to have a bunch of other junk that's going to be put inside of it. So it's not the best example, but just a little guy. Welcome, first of all. So the VODs are available on my Twitch channel, and then I will move them to YouTube, and I will probably be moving. So everything up to March is available. Up through March 30th is available on my YouTube channel currently. And this weekend, I'm probably going to take a few hours and move my April videos to YouTube as well. Yeah. And actually, Rascal, what's interesting is since I'm a Prime subscriber and an affiliate, my VODs stay up for 60 days, which is kind of cool. So my VODs are here available on Twitch for 60 days, which is pretty rad, actually. Yeah. All right. So account list. Let's go ahead and just set up all of our new accounts inside the array itself. So we don't have to think up 3 separate variables for it. We don't need those. All we want to do is we're just going to dump them straight into an array. So I have Sean, I have Brad, there we go. And I have George's. There. Okay. So that's going to create those bad boys and plonk them straight into our array. Yeah, cranberry. Yeah, and we're almost done. We've only got like 3 more lines to do, so you won't have too much to catch up on. But I hope you have a good evening. Hopefully they're paying you off the content. Well, I mean, Twitch really doesn't. I mean, Twitch pays a little bit for ads, and I actually have the ads disabled as much as I possibly can. I mean, they do earn me money, but I know nobody likes ads, right? And so, really, I have them all turned off except for the pre-roll, which I like the ad when you first log on, which I can't turn off. So, if you don't want to see that one, you're going to have to subscribe, which helps me too. So, yeah, I've demonetized myself as much as I possibly can to try to get rid of the ads. But subscriptions are not required, but but always appreciated. But still, don't ever feel obligated to. Um, yeah, right. I want y'all to get tech jobs. Exactly. All right, so let's see if this actually worked. So we set up our new accounts and we put them into an array. Let's see if does this actually work? Can we declare? Can we create this many new objects and just put them straight into an array? Let's see. So if I want to go straight into my array and I want to access this item here, if I want to access the Brad object, how would I do that? How would I console log that Brad object directly from my account list array? What would I say? Yeah. I'm switching it up here. We're going from objects back to arrays. It's whiplash, man. It's whiplash. I like to keep you guessing. Yeah. So let's do that. Rascal's getting fancy. Okay. Let's see if we'll also see if I wrote this correctly. Oh, and I didn't save it. Frickety frack. All right. There we go. Hey, there we go. Yeah. Okay, so what did I get back? I got back an account object, right? With a name of Brad and a balance of 0. And that's correct because we haven't called the credit method that we wrote yet, right? So we still have the initial method. So it returned the correct object with the correct information that was stored in the array. The only thing the bots won't do is save us. Yeah. All right. So that tells us that we're on the right track. Now we still have a little bit more to do. So what else are we supposed to do? We wrote a program that creates our 3 accounts. The accounts are stored in an array. Correct, correct, correct. We're all good through there. Now the program credits $1,000 to each account. Okay. So, I mean, I could manually call the method, right, 3 times. So I could do like Sean, I'd have to do like account list 1 dot describe, right? Or account list 0 describe, account 1, all that, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But there's got to be a better way, right? We want to be dry. We want to be cool and dry. So what's a way I can quickly cycle through an array and perform an action on each item in the array. Yeah, piece of shoot's getting there. I'm afraid I can't let you do that, Dave. Yeah. Great movie. Yeah, we're gonna loopity loop, right? Yeah, and there's a bunch of different ways we could do this, right? We could map, we could do a for loop, but I think I'm gonna do yeah, what Monarch mentioned there. I think we're gonna do a for each. So because I don't see this used very often, like a lot of folks just in a lot of code wars and stuff just go for map. Um, I think, but in this case, I don't necessarily want I just want to perform an action on each item in the array. I'm not trying to create a new array out of this. So I just want to modify the original. So I'm going to say account list dot for each. And now I need to indicate, so we can see, if I look at for each, we can see there's a few values here that we could possibly use. So, I mean, we could do value, index, array. In this case, I want to just do, all I really need is the first parameter, which is it's listed as value by default, but we could call it whatever we want. I usually call it item. So for each of the items in an array, we're going to perform a certain action on that item. And remember, our items here are objects with multiple properties. So oh, Scam, you're funny. Okay, so for each item in the array, which is an object with multiple properties, I want to run that credit method on that item. So if and I want to credit $1,000. So how would I call the method on a given array item? What would I say? How would I call that credit method? Item pew pew. Yeah. Yeah, piece of shoot. I mean, single characters are okay in their own way, but I do like to write it out. It just helps you remember. If you go back and look at it later, it helps you remember, like, okay, what the heck was I referencing? Yeah, so credit 1,000. Yeah, so but we need to reference, we need to make sure we have that parent-child relationship here. So we're going to do item dot credit. Yeah. Oh yeah, and good point, Scam. Yeah, we could so we could sanitize this a little bit and make sure that what we're passing in is a number, so that our balances aren't going to get screwed up. That's a good point. So we could say number, or we could use the unary operator and do a plus like that. I personally like that. That does a number conversion if it can convert. Um, yeah, so we can do that. We'll credit 1,000. And then the very last thing we want to do, the last thing we've been asked to do, is to then show the description. So make sure that all of the accounts have been credited appropriately. I know we're literally passing a number here, so it's not really needed exactly, but it's just a little bit of fun. Doesn't hurt anything. Yeah, Rascal, we can trust the user. They would never input invalid data. Ha 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 ha. Ugh. Users will always input invalid data and never read the instructions, ever. All right, so for that description, we're going to console log it, because in our method we only have a return here, so we need to console log that return. So we're going to do, and then we're going to do an item dot describe. Pew. Little Bobby tables, indeed. Yep. 8,000 written out in, yeah, exactly. Because they wanted to use text to speech. And so when they said how much they wanted to deposit in their text, in their phone for text to speech, it wrote it out in words, right? Yeah, that kind of thing. That's the kind of thing that happens. Yep. Yeah, M, Roman numeral. All right, let's run it. Let's see what we get. And so, yeah, if you wanted to be really thorough here, you could do an actual check, true false check on whether or not that was a number, but we're not going to bother. Oh, what did I do? I didn't save. Frickety frack. All right. And again. Yeah, or numbers with commas. Yeah. Okay, now that looks better, doesn't it? So what we get back then is the owner and the balance, and for each item in the array, we now have that account now has $1,000 balance. Man, I wish somebody at my bank would create an array, of all the accounts and just give everybody $1,000. I wish that was a thing that happens. That would be pretty cool. I like this bank. But alas, probably not going to happen. Yeet 1000. Right? Exactly. Probably not going to happen. Yeah, we could, add a few more items there, a few more zeros. Boo. Yeah. However many you want. Go wild. Oh, Hanso Hai asked, that's a really good question, Han. What concept is item? What concept is this? All right, so this is a fairly new concept in JavaScript, and it's called an arrow function. And so it's just kind of a function shorthand. So essentially, when we call the for each method on here, we want to perform a specific action for each item in the array, right? And so when we do that, we are essentially calling a little mini function on each item in the array. And instead of having to write out the full function syntax, we can simplify it by just essentially just saying, hey, look, here's the parameter that we're passing in. In this case, it's an array item, and then essentially do something to it. So all the rest of this arrow just indicates, hey, pass this in and do stuff to it. It's just a shorthand for functions. Yeah, and it's called an arrow function. So if you want to look that up, it's a fairly new concept, but pretty useful for writing like really compact one-line functions versus having to do like saying the word function and then having parameters in parentheses and then having the curly brackets and having multiple lines involved. Oh, it's Lambda in Java. Very cool. Yeah. It is. It's cleaner. It does take a little bit of mental, it takes a little bit of your brain to think. And it's not. I wouldn't necessarily use it for large functions for multi-line functions. I would probably still use the original function notation just because it makes it very clear what you're doing. But for code wars especially, it's you get a lot of practice with arrow functions. Oh, DriveNet asks, where did credit and describe come from? Okay, good question. Yeah. So check up here. So what did we do up here, right? We created a class, and it was called account. And inside of that class, we had a constructor that set up some properties for us. And then we had two methods. They were called credit and describe. And then, so we know we have those methods and we can reference them later. We can call them, we can call those methods later, even from outside of the class. And so then the second thing we did was we set up 3 new accounts and we dropped them into an array. Right? We set up 3 new accounts and we dropped them into an array. And so since those accounts, since those objects can access the methods associated with those objects, which are credit and describe, we can just reference them later down here. So each of these array items that we created are actually an object that contains multiple properties and methods, and so we have access to those methods later on when we want to call them. Does that help? Llama Bean asks, the curly brackets in the arrow function, is that because of the multiple actions? Yeah, because um, we needed to go multi-line here just for clarity. I mean, we could have done this on one line, but in this case, you can still use curly brackets with arrow functions. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. If you ain't on the account list, you ain't getting in. Exactly. Um, oh, arrow function. Is the arrow function concept related to functional programming? Yeah, I mean, well, it has to do with functions. Yeah. It's like I say, it's fairly new with the latest version of JavaScript, or ES6, I believe. It's just a way to streamline things a little bit, so you can more efficiently make little one-liner functions or couple line functions. Oh, VS Code color theme. Yeah, so this is actually a setting in VS Code to get the brackets to be the pretty the pretty birthday colors. It's like, it reminds me of like a McDonald's or a cartoon or something. I think I want to tweak these colors a little bit. They're kind of garish right now. But it's in preferences. So go to File, Preferences, Settings, and then in your settings, just search for bracket and look for this function, look for this setting right here, editor bracket pair colorization. Look at that, and then click the checkbox, and that'll turn your brackets funky colors, and essentially help you know when they're, help you identify bracket pairs, bracket and parenthesis pairs. All right, Code Zulu, have a good night. Scrolling back up here. Hang on. Oh, no problem, Misleading. I'm glad you had a good time. Why the plus sign in the for each loop? This is just, so this plus sign here, this was just when we were talking about making sure, validating, if let's say I tried to pass in a string here accidentally, like if I passed in like 1000 instead of a numeric, if I tried to add that to my balance, you might get some unexpected results. I mean, it essentially would work in this case because we started with a number. And then so if we try to add a string, it'll understand it. It'll do a it'll do what we call a type coercion, and it'll convert it from a number to a string, or from a string to a number. But if we want to be real careful, we can convert that string to a number, and we could do that in a variety of before we try to assign it back to the balance. And we could do that in a variety of ways. If you want to be super clear about it, you can say number, right? But if you want to be a little shorthand with it, you can also just use the plus operator, and that'll do the same thing as number to do that conversion. If it can, if it'll try to convert it if it can. Yeah. So in this case, let's see. Cool. Thanks. Okay. Great. Oh, good. I'm glad it's helping you, DriveNet. Yeah, no problem at all. All right, so there was a little question about for each and how it's like constructed, using the arrow function and all that. Let's here. Let me just. So let's just look it up. Let's look at for each. I know this is W3. I'm sorry. Oh gosh, it's bright. Sorry, that's not what I want. I want to look at, I don't want to look at there. I want to look at it somewhere else. Hang on. Come on. All right. What is the JSWay? Nope, not that. Not JSWay. What is the other? We lost the link. Oh, I saw it for a second there, not HBO Max. Oh, there we go. JavaScript.info. That's what I wanted. This is the one I want. Partially because it's dark mode. Yeah. So let's look at for each. So really, if we look at the basic definition of for each, so if we look at the basic definition of for each, we can see that the basic definition of for each really doesn't specify using an arrow function strictly. The basic definition of for each literally says, I mean, it has the classic keyword of function, right? Function, some parameters, and then classic function notation. So essentially, if we were to write it without an arrow function, it's essentially how it would look. But just to be a little cleaner about it, we can slim things down a little bit by using the arrow notation. How if we were to write it the classic way, it would essentially just look like this: function, parameters, brackets. Yeah, and Mavi, you're basically right there. You just need to add that function name in the return if you want to return something. Yeah, and Florence gave an example there of how that could possibly look. Yep. So yeah, Rascal clarified there. Yeah, it just takes any old function. So whatever you want to tell it to do, and you can declare that function inline via arrow or function expression. Yeah, and if you are struggling with array methods, I would highly recommend this manuscript here. That's why I pulled it up. This javascript.info. Um, and I'll drop the link for it here. It has some really great examples, and I reference it often, especially for array methods. So if you go to there's a specific chapter on array methods right here. So like there's data types, and if we go to specifically this chapter on array methods, I use this all the time, just literally copying and pasting into whatever I'm trying to do. Yeah, Ryan. And sometimes the site explains things better than the MDN. Yeah, because it gives you some really cool basic examples. So I shared it there in the chat. So definitely reference that for arrays or even for other JavaScript concepts as well. If you're trying to understand what to use when or why something works the way it does, it's really good. And it has example problems that you can do as well to test that out. And it gives you the solutions. Yeah, and you don't and Rascal makes a good point there. You don't necessarily need arrow functions. Like I say, they're still a pretty new concept in JavaScript. Um, they're still pretty fresh, and before that, people got along just fine without them. So you don't necessarily need them; they're just convenient. And I'll say, like when I'm building projects, arrow functions, I don't unless I'm doing an array method specifically, I don't really use arrow functions just because I want to be really clear to myself exactly exactly what I'm doing. I have a function, I'm doing passing in some parameters, and then I've got my brackets and multi-lines because I don't really care about saving space outside of an array method. Awesome, Lilo. Yeah, I hope that helps you. Okay, so let's go back to this now. And Freaker, you say I study array methods by sticking these Code War array problems into subfolders. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, based on their array method. That's rad. Sometimes being more explicit helps, but JavaScript is already not so explicit. Yeah, I mean, I try to make it easy on myself, right? Like, I'm not trying to write the cleanest code in the world. I'm just trying to write code that works. So whatever I decide to use, as long as I can understand it, and as long as hopefully others can understand it when I'm streaming it, then that's what I try to use instead of being like a Code Wars, one line master. It's just not necessary. Yeah. So with that, this takes care of all the problems in the JSWay homework, um, which is, a part of what we were assigned for this week. There is more that we were assigned. However, we're not going to cover it tonight. Um, Probably the big the monster in the room is the Eloquent JS homework. And if you're not familiar with Eloquent JS, it is push work. So if you don't feel like you're going to have time for it, that's 100% fine. Don't worry about it. Don't do it. Don't punish yourself with it. If JSWay is like walking through a meadow of flowers, then Eloquent JS is like, what if the flowers were nettles, and were poking you with their little nettle thorns? Um, hey, Varilla Fox, yeah, code that works and is readable. Exactly right. Yeah. Um, so Eloquent JS is a lot, but we are going to try. I'm hoping that I'm going to have it done by Sunday, and then that way we can cover it. We can talk about it, and we can go through it a little bit on stream. However, if you are planning to do it, I would highly suggest at least attempting it, doing the reading, getting familiar, trying it, because no guarantees. I mean, you shouldn't rely on me solely for getting your homework done, right? So take your own crack at it. If you're planning to do it, again, it's not necessary. It's push work, but shoot your shot at it, and hopefully we'll go through it together on Sunday as well. Yeah, that's the plan anyway. Posture check. Oh boy, yeah, I'm slouching. I always slouch. My current setup, I'm at my dining room table, and it's not exactly the most ergonomic place to be. I don't use my work desk for just because I'm using work equipment for streaming purposes. So dining room table it is. Yeah. Um, oh, you got an assessment for an Amazon software engineer? That's rad. Congratulations, Seiwan. It's awesome. Good luck with that. Rascal, no, we're not streaming until midnight. I moved us an hour earlier so that I could go to bed at a reasonable hour. Oh, Scam VR, did you suggest a poll? Or did you mean to do that? just put exclamation point. No sleep till Leon. Yeah, no, I do need sleep, which is why I moved us an hour earlier. I hope this was okay with everyone. Thanks, Scambier. Sleep is good. It is good. Yeah. That's why the schedule changed, because normally I've been, if you're not familiar with my streams, you look at my past VODs, when we get into project mode, we on here for 4 hours straight. And that's too late for me. Actually, I have work in the morning. Yeah. Best of luck to you, Seiwan. Yeah, absolutely. 24-hour mind will stream when. Yeah. Sometime when when I don't have work the next day. I'm not ruling it out. What desk? Yeah, I am looking at desks. I'm probably going to get a new desk for work purposes, and then my current work desk, which is another dining room table that's slightly more ergonomic. It's dining room tables all the way down. It's just an IKEA table. It's a little taller. That's my work desk. But I am going to get a proper desk for work, and then yeah, and then you know move the old desk to stream desk. Standing, yeah, maybe I've thought about it. Hmm. I don't mind. I don't mind, chatting here with you guys, but I just want to make sure. Does anybody else any more homework? Any more questions on the homework that we did? Any of the problems? Any of the three of them? Otherwise, I think we'll probably, feel free to ask any questions, in general. Otherwise, I think we'll queue up for a raid. We'll find somebody to raid because we still got a substantial amount of viewers on. So I'm proud of y'all for sticking with it. Um, Dial in the setup. When's the next stream? So yeah, if y'all want to know when my streams are, I have my channel up to date with my Twitch schedule on the channel. So just go to my channel and click on schedule, and you'll see when I stream, which is currently Wednesdays and Sundays. In order to reach partner, I have to stream 3 days a week, which is a bit much. I applied to partner and I got denied, mostly just because I don't stream enough. Like I don't stream as many days, but I'm like, man, I'm doing like 8 hours a week of streaming. That's like a part-time job. What more do they want? But yeah, we'll see. I might have to reapply here in a little bit and plead my case. But all right, let's find somebody to raid. Okay, 2 seconds. I need to pull up my thingy, my raid window. Yeah, everyone gets denied first time. Yeah, totally. I'm not. I don't worry about it. I didn't think I was going to get it anyway. Oh, thanks. Okay, I don't have anybody coming up of people that I follow who's online. So does anybody have a good suggestion? Has to be someone who's, at least, maybe tangentially related to development, or a good sort of wholesome person that maybe isn't in the development category. Yeah, I don't see any 100. I know I don't either, Rascal. I don't see any 100 devs streaming at the moment. Anybody have any suggestions? Please make sure they're, at least somewhat family friendly. Doesn't have to be, G rated, but any suggestions? Stephen Code Stuff. Oh, are they online? Okay. Stephen Code Stuff. Rad. All right, let's look them up. Stephen Code Stuff. Oh, they are online. All right. They've only got one viewer. Well, let's go surprise them, huh? How about we surprise this person? All right, we're going to start the raid. It's going to start here in a few seconds. Just takes a second. Yay, yeah. Let's surprise them. This will be fun. Still queuing up some of the last few folks here. Another few seconds. It takes otherwise I don't want people to get left behind. It takes a bit for everybody to get queued up to raid. I'm glad everybody had a good time tonight. All right. I think that's close enough. If you do get left behind, I apologize, but go ahead and just go to Stephen Code's Stuff channel. You can always go there manually. Oh, we're still coming in. Board the raid train. I know. Oh, here we go. Getting there. 106. 106. I think that's close enough. If you're one of the 6 that get left behind, I apologize. Just go to their channel manually. All right, here we go. Right now.